At the start of the movie, Marne is shown sitting in her room. She retrieves a box from a drawer and places some keys inside it. Suddenly, she hears the sound of a horse neighing, which captures her attention. When she goes outside to check, she sees something that scares her, and then she sees someone's hair moving. After summoning her courage once more, she goes outside and begins to follow the mysterious moving hairs. She encounters a painting, in which a girl keeps changing positions, adding to the eerie atmosphere. As she approaches the painting, a demonic girl climbs onto her shoulder, causing her to fall down and tragically lose her life. Following these unsettling events, the movie shifts to Marne's granddaughter Nadine, who is accompanied by her sister Naya and her fiancé Ben at Marne's gravesite, mourning her tragic passing. They then arrive at her grandmother's in Mekar Jiwo. Inside her grandmother's room, Nadine stumbles upon the same box, which contains a letter and the keys mentioned earlier. Later, their lawyer tells them that legally this entire hotel belongs to Nadine and Naya, and Marne asks him to tell them never to let it be closed down, since it has been established for years, run by both the late grandma and her husband. Nadine confides in the lawyer, expressing that ever since their parents' tragic car accident 3 years ago, she hasn't looked forward to inheriting the hotel. She questions the purpose of the place. The lawyer shares that their grandma once mentioned she wanted the hotel to be passed down to her grandchildren for their future. Now that night, Ben goes back to Jakarta with Naya because of her school and Nadine is alone in the hotel. Then the piano kept there starts playing on its own, which surprises her and also scares her a little, and we see a strange shadow in the wall. She gets scared and goes outside where she meets the caretaker Rami and she asks her what her son Bijo is carrying. Rami explains that it is believed that when someone has passed away within the last 40 days, their spirit lingers in the vicinity, so the food offering is meant for the deceased. Nadine heads over to Jura and Raman, who offers to show her the hotel's inventory. They explain that the hotel currently has 8 rooms available for guests, including the one Nadine will be staying in tonight. Nadine recalls that the hotel used to have 9 rooms and questions this change. Raman reveals that one room has always remained unopened. Even during Marne's ownership, the room opposite Nadine's was kept sealed until Marne's passing. Nadine is curious and suggests that since her grandmother is no longer alive, they should open the room. Jura, however, advises against it, warning that they never know what might come out of that room. Despite their warnings, Nadine persists and asks about the room's key. Ramat explains that Grandma Marne had all the keys. Nadine then checks Grandma's room for the keys but instead finds rose petals in the box. Later, as Nadine attempts to sleep, she is startled by the sound of a door slamming shut, followed by a wardrobe door mysteriously opening on its own. This unnerves her, and she quickly turns on the lights. However, when she doesn't see anyone around, she cautiously switches off the lights. Suddenly, a ghostly figure materializes before her, moving closer while chanting mysterious spells. Just as the ghost draws near, Nadine quickly turns on the lights again, causing the apparition to instantly vanish. The following day, Nadine calls Ben and shares her uneasy experience from the previous night, mentioning that she had a strange feeling that something was watching her, so she ended up sleeping with her lights on. Ben dismisses her concerns, suggesting she might just be tired. However, Nadine insists that he come to her location soon, as she needs his assistance with some tasks. During their conversation, Ben notices that Nadine is eating flowers, which surprises him. He asks her about it, and she becomes shocked to realize that her bowl is filled with flowers. Frustrated and confused, Nadine angrily calls Jura and questions why she was given such unusual food. Jura and Rahima check the bowl and explain to her that it's not flowers but her regular breakfast. This revelation leaves Nadine in disbelief and shock. Nadine calls Ben again to confirm if he indeed saw her eating flowers, to which he responds affirmatively, saying yes. Later, Ben contacts one of his friends and inquires if Mekar Jiwo Inn has any historical significance. His friend informs him that it was originally a guest house for coffee planters during the Dutch colonial era and was constructed by a wealthy Chinese-Indonesian individual from Solo. While Nadine is alone in the hotel, feeling bored, she decides to take some pictures of the hotel using her phone. As she snaps photos, a door unexpectedly opens itself. Soon after, she notices a mysterious figure appearing on her phone screen, only to vanish in an instant. However, the eerie figure reappears when she checks through her phone again. Later, Nadine seeks Raman's help to break open the locked door, but Jura intervenes, advising her against it. Undeterred, Nadine says there is nothing inside and urges Raman to continue trying to unlock the door. After several attempts, Raman successfully breaks the lock on the door. When Nadine enters the room, she discovers that it's in a decrepit state, covered in dust and cobwebs. Inside, she finds various paintings, old photographs, and an unusual figurine. She turns to Ramen and asks about it. Ramen explains that it's the Nini Thowok doll, a medium used for connecting with the spirit world. Jura chimes in, mentioning that it's a female version of Jalen Kung. According to Marne, the previous owner of the hotel often used this doll to communicate with their ancestors' spirits and seek their assistance. Ramen speculates that all this paraphernalia might belong to the family of the hotel's original Chinese-Indonesian owner, whose surname was Oi. Frustrated and angered, Nadine forcefully drags the Nini Thowok doll outside and sets it on fire. As the doll burns, a door mysteriously swings open, and Nadine feels a tug on her clothing. She swiftly turns around, but there's no one in sight. Suddenly, Bijou arrives on the scene, and Nadine questions him about pulling her clothes. Bijou denies any involvement and instead points in a specific direction. Later, Han Kim meets with Nadine and expresses his interest in purchasing the hotel. However, Nadine explains that she's not currently interested in selling the property. Han Kim empathizes with her decision but shares some family history. He reveals that this hotel was once their family's ancestral property until it was sold in secret by one of their grandchildren, causing a rift in the family. He hopes that buying the hotel can serve as a means to reunite and mend the family. Taking this into consideration, Nadine asks Han Kim to leave his contact information, promising to give him her decision as soon as possible. Han Kim emphasizes that he is willing to offer a price higher than the market value and expresses a desire to reclaim their family's relics, particularly mentioning a painting that depicts one of their family's grandchildren. Later, Ben and Naya return to the hotel, and Nadine tells him about Han Kim's interest in buying the place. That night, as Bijou and Naya play together, Bijou excuses himself to go to the bathroom. Naya decides to retrieve a ball that has rolled under the bed, and a shadowy figure passes behind her. But when Naya quickly turns around, she finds no one there. Moments later, several balls roll out from under one of the beds and start moving toward the other bed on their own. This eerie occurrence startles Naya, and as she investigates by looking under the bed, she comes face to face with a ghostly child. The next day, Ben inquires about what happened to Naya the previous night. Nadine explains that Naya mentioned feeling something strange. Meanwhile, Bijou and Naya are playing together, and Naya's doll falls to the ground. As Bijou bends down to pick it up, the ghostly girl forcefully starts swinging Naya on the swing. Naya becomes extremely frightened and starts screaming for help. Nadine and Ben rush over to see what's happening, and Nadine starts scolding Bijou for his involvement. However, Naya insists that it wasn't Bijou who did it but rather a little girl who pushed her on the swing, and her appearance scared her. During their evening at a restaurant, Nadine shares her concerns with Ben about the strange occurrences at her grandmother's hotel. She is convinced that these events are somehow related to the Nini Thowok doll and the mysterious painting. Intrigued, Ben decides to research Nini Thowok on the internet. He discovers that Nini Thowok translates to girl with a white face. According to legend, Nini Thowok originated from a kamawirung, which could be translated as a fetus. This particular kamawirung was not properly cared for, and its grave was abandoned, never receiving any offerings. As a result, it transformed into a wandering spirit that frequented sacred places. Eventually, this spirit possessed the Nini Thowok doll, then decides to visit his friend to gather more information about the hotel's history. His friend reveals that he's writing a book about a coffee guest house in Java that was once owned by the Han Kim family. This family was among the wealthiest in Java, and the patriarch had numerous mistresses. One of these mistresses was Madame Oi, who is considered responsible for causing a significant rift within the family. Madame Oi not only inherited the coffee guest house but also most of the assets that belonged to Han Kim's grandfather. Additionally, it's revealed that Mekar Jiwo was constructed by Madame Oi herself. In another scene, Jura is with Rama and the kids, conducting a ritual and singing the Lingsir Wengi song. Nadine arrives and instructs Naya and Bijou to return to their room. She then questions Jura about what she's doing and expresses her belief that Jura knows something about the woman in the painting and the Nini Thowok doll. Jura explains that they are performing this ritual because Nadine's actions have disturbed the spirit in this place. She emphasizes that it's only a matter of time before the malevolent spirit arrives, and if it does, Naya's safety is at risk. Ben's friend proceeds to show him a family photo that includes Madame Oi and her daughter Yin Yin. In a flashback, it is revealed that Yin Yin used to play with one of her helper's children, whose responsibility was to accompany her. However, Yin Yin mysteriously disappeared, and no one knew her whereabouts. Her sudden and unexplained absence caused immense sadness and depression for Madame Oi. Authorities and shamans conducted extensive and futile searches over the years, but Yin Yin remained missing, leaving the family in a state of enduring mystery and grief. Oi then decided to use the Nini Thowok doll to search for her daughter. She discovered that her daughter was still inside the house. Someone had hidden Yin Yin. Nadine asks if she means Nini Thowok located Yin Yin, to which she says yes. and she tries to tell everyone but no one believed her, and eventually, she got depressed, becomes sick, and dies. Nadine asks but what's Naya got to do with Oe, to which she tells her that ever since Naya came, the dark spirit has been awakening, and that is why they have to do the ritual to cleanse their spirits. Maybe Oe's spirit thinks that Naya is Yin-Yin. Grandma Marne once said Oe did not want to be away from Yin-Yin. She believed she was still in this house, so she entered the sacred painting. Here Ben asks his friend how old he thinks the boy would be if he was still alive, to which he says around 55-60 years old. Nadine returns to the abandoned room, where she hears some mysterious sounds and is startled to spot a hand behind a door. As she cautiously investigates, she's taken aback to see two ghostly girls swinging on a swing. Terrified by this encounter, Nadine quickly retreats to the hotel, where suddenly Nini Thowok doll is about to fall on her but stops. As she attempts to leave, she finds the room filled with numerous Nini Thowok dolls and hears an incantation. Then, a ghostly figure passes behind her, and the dolls start moving on their own, causing Nadine to become extremely frightened and ultimately fall to the ground. Raman arrives there and asks her if she is okay. Nadine realizes that everything has vanished, and she pleads with him to assist her in finding her sister, explaining that a dozen Nini Thowok dolls had come after her. However, Raman informs her that he only heard her screaming and didn't witness anything unusual. As Raman leaves the room, he hears the sounds of children playing nearby. Suddenly, something unsettling begins to happen to him, and he becomes increasingly frightened as he witnesses the spirit of Madame Oe roaming through the house. Meanwhile, Ben returns home and tries to calm Nadine down. He tells her that he knows what is wrong with this place and shows her those pictures, and tells her that he is sure that this is Raman from when he was little. Ben steps outside to Raman and helps him regain his composure, and questions Raman about the identity of the woman in the painting. He presents old photos, including one that appears to feature Raman, and asks if it's him in the picture. Raman, overwhelmed, admits that he didn't do it intentionally. Jura intervenes, asserting that the secret can no longer be concealed, especially with a child's life at stake. In a revealing flashback, we witness Ramat swinging Yin-Yin on the swing. She requests to be pushed higher, initially met with Ramat's reluctance. However, as she persists, Ramat complies and pushes her harder, which causes her to fall from the swing, resulting in a fatal head injury that leads to her untimely demise. Ben asks him where did he hit Yin-Yin's body, and only then Nadine notices Bijo there and asks him to come to her. She asks him if he knows where Naya is, to which he tells her that she was taken to the flea market. Ben says maybe Oe thinks that her daughter was buried there, and only then Ben notices that Raman is gone. Ben goes in search of Raman, leaving Nadine behind. Meanwhile, as Nadine arrives at the flea market, she finds the entrance door locked. As she turns to leave, the door unexpectedly opens on its own, and when she steps inside the market, the door mysteriously closes behind her, trapping her inside. Now when Nadine starts searching for Naya, she gets terrified seeing a ghost hanging there. Meanwhile, Ben sees that Raman has dug Yin-Yin's grave and is crying apologizing to her. In the tense moment, Nadine realizes that Oe's spirit has possessed Naya, who is now following her. As Nadine begins to follow Naya, the spirits of two children materialize in her path. Then, another child's spirit emerges from the ground and stands before her. Overwhelmed by these ghostly encounters, Nadine turns and comes face to face with yet another ghostly figure. Frightened, she quickly runs away from the unsettling scene. She then finds Madame Oe's spirit standing with Naya, and Nadine tries to convince her that she is not Yin-Yin and requests her to return to her. Raman and Ben then reach there, and Raman accepts that he is responsible for her daughter's death, but he doesn't do it on purpose. He apologizes to her and promises her that he will bury Yin-Yin's body properly. Oe realizes that Naya is not her daughter Yin-Yin, so she leaves her, and because Raman promises to give Yin-Yin's body a proper burial, Oe's soul is liberated. The next day, we see that Nadine sells the hotel to Han Kim, and he tells them that once they finish renovating this place into a boutique hotel based on their design, he will name it the Past Shop as suggested by them. He asks them to visit later and they can stay here anytime. They then leave their back to Jakarta, and when Han Kim goes back in, he gets spooked to see many Nini Thowok dolls there, and as the ghost moves towards him, the movie ends. Thanks for joining us on our horror movie recap adventure. If you enjoyed the chills, subscribing would mean a lot. Drop a comment to share your thoughts and keep the terror alive. Stay spooky and see you soon.